Excellent.
Thank you, Suzanne.
I know.
Matthews,
Yes.
Mella,
Yes.
Sawyer,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Laura. And we'll move on to number 9C, and Ms. Riley is here already. Welcome.
Thank you. I'll just fire up my PowerPoint here and get the screens going. Thank you, Mayor Levy, council members. This item is for the Top of Paradise amended master plan, an extension for a 5-year period to 2020, and a master plan for a subdivision is required if a developer owns a large tract of property and they plan to only preliminary plat a small portion of that, or a smaller portion, then our subdivision regulations require that the balance of the property be master planned. And the purpose for that is in order for the city to be able to evaluate what the build-out will look like for that entire tract, so that you're looking at roadways and utilities and lot layouts that make sense and meet the design guidelines. So in 2005, there was nearly 200 acres that was master planned by Mr. Will Brown. And it is shown on the zoning map as outlined in the green area. That was the top portion of the Paradise Estates property. It is all zoned suburban residential. There is planned up to 190 lots on this 200 acres. And Mr. Brown started with this central portion of the 200 acres with a preliminary plat in 2005, and then he followed that with a final plat of the first 28 lots, which is known as Paradise of Colorado. So in 2005, when the entire master plan was approved, then the first filings were taken place, and there was a previous extension of this master plan in 2010. So now, 5 years later, we are asking for another 5 years to 2020.
Sally, I need you to stop for just a second. I need a 30-second consult with you out here real quick.
Oh,
Please.
We'll take 30 seconds or a minute.
Take a couple of minutes longer.
Sure, why don't we take until 8:25, and everybody can take a quick break, and we can get back. We don't have much left after this.
Mr. Mayor, we're ready.
Well, we're going to give him a couple of minutes. We're just going to give him a couple of minutes. Mr. Yeah, I was here.
He drove me up to talk about the best third plans.
He gave me the tour, too. Yeah.
He was a controversial guy, but I always like him.
I go to his business too as well.
And then there's, if you go right below the way, there's this trail that leads up, and there's this ridge trail.
Mission to say that. So I apologize for that.
He was
Air Force graduate.
Air Force Academy grad, yeah. No, the Habitat always needed to have a general contractor who kept everything legal and would sign all the appropriate documents.
Sure.
And so the first house I was actually some supervisor. He was a general contractor. And so I was only a couple of times questions on that. So a little difficult. Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, I enjoy talking to him.
Some people watch my slowly when I got older. I never saw any reason to.
I feel bad. I don't think you always didn't like it.
I never exhibited any behavior to me that I wanted to.
This is interesting. It's in the box.
Have you been? So what do you think of this gentleman, the housing? You feel my patio's covered, right? Okay. So I'm not sure how it goes. Federal grants. Seems a little bit redundant.
It's a challenge. Awesome.
I mean, I don't mean to be. I mean, first of all, as you know, people make $8,000 are very few speed. They don't let it. Those are kids. That's their first job. And that's I didn't want to really sell, but it's like, that's an entry level. You can make $950 now, so longer if you're now going to increase it to $11. So I don't know, it's a little rough.
Well, listen, I've known Larry for a long time. He did a lot of work.
I can tell. The guy's hard.
And I talked to him.
He's a golfer.
Suzanne used to be a golfer and said, I understand you know this guy wants to come to the council. What's he want to do? Should we?
I can see it.
Since I called him, I won't talk to such a yes, he's having trouble getting started.
If you're passionate about something,
Yeah, he knows what it is. He grew up in America West housing solutions. And so I said, no.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
No, I can't.
Sally, thank you very much. You can
Thank
go
you.
ahead and proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. There has been some ownership changes since this development began, and so I would like to point out that the northern portion of the 200 acres is now under ownership by Mr. Ken Bauer, who is here in the audience this evening. And then Park State Bank is in control of the balance of the preliminary plat. And then the southern portion of the property is now under the responsibility of Mr. Brown's daughter, Andrea Rodriguez. So this is a pretty typical request, is to maintain the master plan and maintain its validity for another 5 years. There are no standards in our code to evaluate these, so we use a reasonable judgment to be able to say that this is a reasonable request and that our code has not had any substantial changes with respect to design or standards for subdivisions, and that it is very normal to keep this as a valid master plan. The Planning Commission did hear this request last week and recommended approval, and this evening we would like to request approval for the extension to 2020. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you,
And Mr.
Sarah.
Bauer is here as well.
Do you have any questions?
No downside to this, Sally?
No, sir.
I'm sorry.
No. Was the Planning Commission vote unanimous?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
I recall that Mr. Brown had requested a provision for clustered housing. Is that still applicable in this plat?
What Mr. Brown worked with us on was to establish clustered housing in our regulations. He was considering entertaining that, however, never came forward with any proposal.
And that was to basically create townhouse clusters and then dedicate the remainder of the unbuildable land in an open space area, correct?
Correct. It is our new standards for clustered development, maintains the current densities, but it would allow for duplexes and very small lots and very limited infrastructure to be able to serve those clusters.
And that could happen.
That could happen, and that proposal could come through a normal review process for a subdivision, and then it would amend this master plan.
Anybody else? Public comment? Anybody have?
John had a
I'm sorry, John. If that were to happen, would the council then have the approval authority?
I haven't done a cluster development, so I'd have to look into the code, but I would assume that you would see the subdivision. It's not considered a subdivision exemption plat, and that we do administratively. So I'm going to say yes, but I would have to double check my answer in the code.
I did have something I wanted to bring to Mr. Bauer's attention. There is an elk carcass up there right now. I don't know. Yes.
How fresh is it?
It's about 2 weeks old now. I don't know if it was shot or if an animal brought it down.
Deleted.
It's been picked pretty good.
All right.
Council, any other questions? Any public comment?
I have one, please.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
if you'd like to come forward, state your name and address.
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Carol Scott. Address is 909 Southwest Street, Woodland Park, Colorado. And I was just questioning this area here, which is, this is Kings Crown Road. There's a hill up behind there, and all of Kings Crown Road is developed, down below. And I'm a major hiker of Woodland Park. I'm a generational native of this area. That area probably has, up there above, has probably one of the most beautiful, pristine views of Pikes Peak I've ever seen around here. And I was hoping to encourage City Council and Planning Department to use that area as a wildlife nature trail. There's still elk and deer that lay down up there. And the picture is, Pikes Peak is the best I've ever seen. And that's all I wanted to add. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, we will close public comment and call for a motion.
Move to approve the extension of Top of Paradise amended master plan to August 4th, 2020. Second.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Miller,
Yes.
Sawyer,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Sally. Thank you very much. Mr. Bauer, thank you, sir. Okay, we will move on to number 10, new business, which we have none, and I have no one signed up for public comment. Unless there's anybody here that would make public comment today, we will move on to number 12, and reports and the mayor's report. I was very fortunate today to join Mr. Buttery at Fort Carson for the Warrior Memorial, where they honor in this case, 7 soldiers from Fort Carson that were killed in battle this past year. As you can imagine, a moving, emotional ceremony with families, and it just brings me to this Monday, Memorial Day, which certainly is more than just a day off. It's a day to remember our loved ones and friends and all of those that have lost their lives for our country. So Remember that on Monday, take some time for those that died defending our country, and so that we could be here today. So this Monday, Memorial Day, I'm sure we're going to see lots of traffic in town, but keep in mind why we celebrate that special holiday. Saturday, May 30th, citywide cleanup and cookout at the Midland Pavilion, right by the Cultural Center, and that's from 9 to 1. And then Thursday, June 4th, the Chamber Lunch and Learn Business and Personal Firearm Defense. And you can call the Chamber at 687-9885 to register. I forget something, Deb? No? All right. That's all I have today. I will move on to council reports. Who would like to start? Anyone have a report today?
No report, but just a question. David, do you have any idea when we'll have our goals and objectives for special meeting?
I don't. I was prepared to talk about the RFQ, but not the goals and objectives.
I'll let you do that.
I'll work on that time frame.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else today, Ken?
Well, you already mentioned the cleanup on the 30th, so that covers what I was going to cover. Keep Woodland Park beautiful, just to emphasize that and get involved. And as you pointed out, a cookout near the Cultural Center.
And so we'll just meet at Midland Pavilion at 9 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have
John?
more of a question for eventually when it comes around to the chief, and he can elaborate on the success of the stepped-up patrols and talk about that. I'm looking at the statistics. They're, well, depending on which one, they're better and they're worse, so.
The way to measure success on something like this is over a couple-year period, you look at changes in accident rates.
Correct.
So it's difficult to talk about whether it's a success or not. We can talk about the fact that we're out there and we're writing tickets, but the actual way you tell is whether or not something changes over time. The accident rate in that area was very low, but there was one very significant accident. So it's probably not something I'm going to be able to give you a real measurement on. It's more inferential. Based on the number of contacts we're making out there, I think will have an effect on violations. But that's still, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, thank you.
It's not really what you call a measurement. An awful lot of what we do with traffic is that, though. It's you do
Are we
something.
going to have our officers going to be doing overtime on Memorial Day?
We don't have anything scheduled for extra work on Memorial Day.
Okay.
Traffic's usually slow on Memorial Day because there's so much of it.
Stopped.
Mr. Schaefer? Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, sir. If that's the case, we'll move forward, and our city attorney has gotten the evening off, and we'll move on to Mr. Bowie.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian's prepared to give us a quick update on his activities, and then I'll give a quick update on the aquatic center.
Just a couple of items this evening, Council. Pikes Peak Regional Hospital Waterline Project. Happy to report we're past the midway point. Most of the water line has been installed on the Walmack side of the property and tunneled under the highway and onto the hospital side. So I think most of the barricades are removed, so if you've noticed that, hopefully they're gone or soon to be gone. But that project's been going well, even under budget. Keep our fingers crossed, knock on wood, et cetera. But we hope to have that project probably wrapped up within 30 to 45 days. So again, pleased with the progress to date on that. Enterprise zone, I've talked a little bit about that in the past. We have a concerted effort with Teller County, Victor, Cripple Creek, the Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce, and we've gotten a preliminary approval from the State Economic Development Commission to move forward. It's kind of an iterative process. We have to do a final application by July 15. It looks like we're going to look at major growth corridors or nodes within the county, i.e. Woodland Park, Cripple Creek, Victor, Divide, et cetera, and then come in under a coordinated application. But again, we'll continue to keep council apprised of that process. And again, for those who question what is an enterprise zone, the state has approximately 14 enterprise zones. It's a nationally recognized program that at the state level provides an offset for state tax credits for industrial employment growth, machine, any kind of infrastructure. What's important and is successful in Colorado is how nonprofits are able to use the tax credit enterprise zone, and it's very effective in El Paso County. So we were talking a little bit about Howard's presentation this evening in American West Housing Solutions would be able to benefit as well as others, nonprofits, help the needy, anybody that's a 501c of some kind. So we're particularly interested and excited about that program. America West Housing Solutions, as of May 1, submitted a 9% tax credit application to the Colorado Housing Finance Agency. We have a visit by a CHAFA rep on June 10th. We've had a couple of those and basically come in and do a survey of the community, spend a good portion of the day with us. Again, it's for a 24-unit project, Valley View and Highway 67. So we'll be following up on that program. We'll probably have a presentation in July with some, hopefully, some report of where we stand in August. So I'll continue.
Brian, this is the second year that we've made that application?
Third. And it was the first two were with a private developer, Troy Gladwell, I mentioned, and they were 40, I believe it was 42 units. And I was in both of those presentations and the debriefs with CHAFA, and we've taken all the information, and obviously the big thing is the reduction of the number of units. But the market study was, we thought, very effective relative to what our market is, and it's interesting when you look at the data sets. Trail Ridge is leasing. I mean, I think the last time we saw they were up to 120 units, either leased or pre-leased. But that is a factor, even though it's not an affordable product. But it's every unit they get online, they practically lease and pre-lease additional units. So that's good information that we can share. And I would mirror some of the comments that Howard made earlier relative to the need. So we're excited about the program.
And that's as a result of your outbrief from the previous two applications.
Exactly. All the details that they shared. And they were very good about telling us what they believe we need to do in the future relative to project submittals. So, the DDA board this morning approved a TIF agreement for Eagle Fire Lodge. They're expanding 5 units there and about $280,000 worth of construction. The metrics of that deal were for 10 years, just on the expansion, not on the entirety of the project. So 75% TIF reimbursement for 10 years at a cap rate of $65,000. And so, again, and that generates somewhere in the magnitude of $157,000 in sales and lodging tax over that 10-year period. So that's a good bang for our buck whenever we support lodging in the community, even at 5 units.
And then what is the benefit to Eagle Fire?
The benefit goes to the developer of that. The TIF agreement goes to that. In this case, it's Scott Downs. It goes directly to Scott. And then finally, I'm excited to announce and present our Main Street coordinator, Darlene Jensen, who's been with us 3 weeks now, I believe. And Darlene has an excellent track record relative to this type of work, formerly with the Soil Conservation District in the region. You may know Darlene from the Catamount Institute. She was the executive director. Also worked with the El Palmar Foundation, a paralegal, legal background, excellent with boards and 501c3s, and we're very excited to have her. She's hit the ground running, and welcome. So I know she wants to make a few comments.
Well, it's a pleasure, and thank you, Council, for your service to our community, and to Brian for interviewing me and bringing me on board. Just a real honor to hold this position and support this community. It's been my community for 15 years, and then initially in the 80s. It's funny how things go full circle, though. I actually stood at this podium 15 years ago with testimony before council when they wanted to put in a waste transfer station, and here I am again. Just, again, very proud. The Main Street program represents in Colorado 14 communities through the Department of Local Affairs. So I see this program as bringing additional resources to the community, collaborative efforts with our partners in the community as well as around the state of Colorado. So I'm looking forward to it. Yes, I am hitting the ground running, working on a grant during the week. Was out with the businesses this afternoon, handing out our dine wine and unwine brochure this afternoon. They're excited, we're here, and I'm excited to help. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Darlene. Thank you very much. Any questions for Darlene? Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
As promised, Council, let me give you a quick update on where we are with the Aquatic Center, and then I have one other quick announcement to make. As you know, we hired Barker Rinker Seacat as our architect for the project. We have completed the concept design phase, and we're moving very quickly into what's known as schematic design. Concept design is the general bubble diagrams. Here's the different things we want. Let's put it in a nice looking box and then make sure that that includes everything we want. And then we'll take the step to do schematic design. Following schematic design is then the full design development. Then we create the construction documents and we build the project. We made the decision to move forward with the process to build this with what's known as a construction manager general contractor form of building. The alternatives would have been what some people are familiar with the federal government: design, bid, build, meaning the design has a very complex and thorough spec book that then multiple people bid on, and then a decision is made, and then the project is built. At the other extreme is design build, where you select an architect engineer firm and a general contractor all at the same time. When time is of the essence, that's the best way to do it. It can be a bit more expensive than design bid build. The process that we're using, the construction manager general contractor, is really a blending of the two. We hired an architect first. We decided what the concept design would be. We'll continue with the schematic design, but simultaneously we're going to be going through a process to select the construction manager general contractor, so that once schematic design is done, we can bring that contractor on board to help us with the final design development, to give us better ideas on constructability. Is it better to use 2x4 sticks, or is it better to use 2x4 steel? Is it better to use this? Is it better to use that? So we'll have the advantage of having a construction expert as part of the design team. We released the request for qualifications for the CMGC May 13th. We'll be getting the submittals in from interested parties on May 29th. We will select on June 3rd approximately 3 to 5 of those general contractors for interviews and ask them to submit proposals for their fees associated with this. We'll do an interview process, and our intent is to select the CMGC on June 25th. Therefore, they will come into the program as we move into the design development phase. We're very excited to be at this step in the process. We received today the proceeds for the bond, so we now have in the bank the $10.1 million that the citizens allowed us to go into debt. We're now looking at investment strategies on how that money can be invested and used for the good of the project while we're waiting to execute the different components. You don't borrow the money incrementally, you borrow it one lump sum and then you use it incrementally. So based on our timeline, we can take some of that money and invest it in different schemes, reasonable schemes, because we are governed by the things that we can invest in, so that the money's just not sitting under a mattress, it's earning some interest. That's my update on the Aquatic Center. What questions do you have for me on that subject? Carol?
When you say we will interview these various teams, who are you having on that board?
I'm in discussions with the president of Woodland Aquatic Project on that process of selecting the general contractor. It's my belief that that's a city responsibility because we're partnering, we're going to be in bed with the general contractor. The Woodland Aquatic Project Board is absolutely involved in the design development, the concept design and schematic design and even design development because they have done a tremendous amount of research for different types of components within the facility. So I still want to take advantage of their expertise. Once we transition into the constructability piece, that's really a city function. So that's who will be conducting those interviews.
Okay, thanks.
The question that's going to be asked of all of us is, we're going to have a construction manager by the towards the end of June. Can we expect any groundbreaking on the building this construction season?
Not on the building. I'm not expecting that at all because the actual design development will still take several months. I don't know that we'll have a design for the facility by the end of the construction season. What we're moving forward with in parallel, though, is the infrastructure design. You allowed us to enter into a contract with Martin & Martin for the infrastructure. There's a chance that we could begin some groundbreaking associated with that. There's a slight chance that we would have a groundbreaking for the foundation of the building this construction season. We actually have two different schedules that we're working with the architect. One is fast track, and one is what we're calling standard, probably more realistic. If we hit all of our key points on time, we might get some concrete into the ground before winter sets in. If there are no other questions as it relates to the Aquatic Center, Council, you know that many of you are participating in the annual CML conference. That takes place over the time period for our June 18th meeting. At the June 4th meeting, we'll be bringing to you a recommendation that we cancel the June 18th meeting. I just want to plant that seed with you now. And that's all the reports we have this evening, Mayor.
Thank you. Quick update on fleet maintenance and Memorial Park?
I'll let Bill do fleet maintenance, and then I'll take Memorial Park.
Well, fleet maintenance, the crew has vacated the facility this week. We have some minor asbestos abatement to kick off next week, and I got an email from the contractor this evening that they anticipate mobilization at the site next week. So we're off and running. How long do you think that project will take? I think we'll be completely finished by the end of the year. The contractor expects to be done before that, so I'm optimistic by the end of the calendar year, we'll be done. Terrific.
It is exciting news, and Council recall that based on the receiving the DOLA grant, we're going to pay cash for the fleet maintenance facility. I think we're being extremely good stewards of our taxpayer dollars by doing that. The Memorial Park update, we should find out in about 3 weeks about our GOCO grant. We've requested $350,000 to go towards that project. All indications from the GOCO selection committee are extremely positive. We just don't have the final word from them yet that we're a go on that. We do have the construction documents are being finalized. We have selected a general contractor for that, and so we're just going through the process of balancing the plans with what we have the ability to pay for. We're in really good shape.
That's great. Bill, real quick question. Would the construction of the fleet maintenance affect the parking at Level Gulch Trail?
I'm so glad you asked that question. You couldn't ask for a better plan. We partnered with the Forest Service, and the Forest Service, and we helped them reconstruct a new trailhead for the users of Level Gulch. And the local Forest Service rep was out there today to check the condition and hopes to have it open soon. So it's a wonderful example of partnership with local and federal government to help move that along, because that project has been in the mill for many, many years, and we were able to help them pull that off.
Great
to mutual benefit.
I didn't think Jan wanted everybody parking where the llamas are. So.
No, but that is Forest Service right-of-way in front of our shop where people currently park. But just beyond that is Forest Service property, and that's where the new parking area has been constructed. And the Forest Service has yet to do some amenities there, some fence work and things like that, but that'll be a nice trailhead parking area.
Great.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we will move on. I don't think there are any comments on written correspondence. If that's the case, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Information.